I would say the Republican Party is fascist. They're like post-conservative. What I mean by that is the Republican Party is what happens when conservatism wins, and then the rot that ideology puts into a society has been allowed to manifest. So people don't want Dick Cheney. They don't want George H.W. Bush. They don't want Ronald Reaganism. They don't want that. But the corporate ghouls that were unleashed onto America, the capitalist society, the hyper-capitalist society that we live in, is unpopular among even people that are the conservative base. So you have this like post-conservatism that rises and points at the problems that conservatism created and then finds scapegoats for it, but doesn't attack the structures that actually are causing the problems conservatives are pointing out. Like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Why do we have this immigration crisis? Well, it's the result of neoconservatism abroad, interventionism abroad. We're sanctioning Venezuela. We're sanctioning Cuba. We have the CIA and regime change operations running in Latin America and Central America for generations. And we have destabilized those countries time and time and time again. We have created these huge, massive cartels of narco trafficking. We have so thoroughly corrupted and damaged these societies from the outside that now, it creates refugees that are fleeing the consequences of these policies. These people come into the United States and they overwhelm our threadbare, welfare state. Our threadbare welfare state is threadbare because of conservatism. So you see the effects of conservative policies are redounding on themselves, and it's causing a wave of filth. It's the same thing with climate change, right? You have this deregulated, pro-incumbent, pro-fossil fuels climate system, which exacerbates all those other things I'm talking about. You have all the effects of conservatism and their policies being implemented to the fullest, and that results in this post-conservatism. Because the conservatives don't want to reckon that everything they've done in the past 40 years has been a disaster and a failure, and it's undermining America at its core. To avoid that narcissistic injury and that ego destruction, they've got to find scapegoats. And that's where I put Trump. Trump is kind of somebody that's surfing along the pablum and the cope and the conspiracy theories of the post-conservative victory right. And he's running against the most moribund neoliberals and institutionalists. So he gets to bounce off of hatred for the institutions, hatred for the elites, and that gives him that veneer of populism. So we have neoliberal parties that are oriented towards crushing the left, and the so-called center-left parties. They're all focused on destroying the left and preventing populism and preventing progressivism. That's the primary orientation of the Democratic Party. When the Democratic Party loses to Trump, the first thing they do is try to keep the left from rising. The very first thing they do, they immediately go on the attack against the left, because that's the Democratic Party's function. And then on the right, they have the easiest job. Just float along. But I think with Donald Trump, it's always this situation of the dog catching the car. You know what I mean? It's like Donald Trump in the White House is like the dog biting hold of the tailpipe. Now what?